over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. We'll get to the promised land. We'll get to the promised land.
Romans killing riotous groups that are rising up.
As I turned around quickly, and the next thing I saw was Malcolm falling back in a dead faint.
Killing any potential threat, any potential Messiah.
Dr. King left his room, 306, at the Lorraine Hotel just before dinner to get some air. He walked over to the railing at this spot, and noticing some friends below, he leaned over and began to speak with them. Police say 205 feet away, in a window in a flop house, the assassin waited.
Killing any potential threat, any potential Messiah.
And Rob, some call that deadly raid the massacre on Monroe Street. Black Panther leaders Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were killed. Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were killed. Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were killed.
Brothers and sisters, they are there. We are not lost. We are scattered. We are original Hebrew.
Let's go! All praises be to the Most High God. Yeah, I say it.
I was opportune to meet my grandparents, whom from childhood had always made us to understand that we are one of the lost tribes of Israel. Okay. So from my grandmother.
Right? Now look at these. Yeah, I'm telling you, I gotta show y'all. A picture speaks 1,000 words. Just look for yourself. And this is the creme de la creme. All praises be to the Most High, y'all. Everything we've been through, y'all, the Most High is going to retribute it on all the nations that have had a hand in the oppression of his apple, the apple of his eye, his chosen people, his beloved, his fervent lover, his only begotten. They're going to have their part in the lake of fire. You see them tormented by some kind of creature. I don't even know what that even is, y'all. Judgment in chains. He that led into captivity shall go into captivity. All praise to the Most High, Yah.
And unfortunately, we were right.
Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us!
What's up, Zion? Dynasty, last one back in this thing, y'all. First, I gotta say peace, love, blessings to all my supporters. Not all y'all trolling, not all y'all that switched up on your boy, but all y'all that's for the movement. Let's go. I gotta say peace, love, blessings, Israelite power, prosperity to the full, to the overflow, to each and every one of my Israelite brothers and sisters. All y'all that are still with the movement, that are supporting this work, that believe in restoring our people and coming together as a nation and not a Crayola color or two continents slapped together. I love y'all from the bottom of my heart. I know it's been a while, y'all. We're gonna talk about it, y'all. We're gonna talk about it. But not just all my Israelite family, all my supporting, all those sojourning Gentile supporters. I could not do this without y'all as well. A lot of y'all have been supporting. A lot of y'all have been checking up on me, and I thank y'all from the bottom of my heart, y'all. It's been a war. It's been a lot of research I've been trying to do. Just a lot to be able to. If you look at the Library of Congress, family, in the Houston Daily Post, I'm gonna try to let you guys see this. It talks about a Negro who could read and write Hebrew. Now it says he is deaf and dumb and comes from an African town in Hartford, Connecticut, September 19. A young African Negro has been in this city for the last few days who claims to be a Hebrew. He is deaf and dumb. To be able to really deal with a lot of this smoke that's been going on over Ephraim, over the Yoruba's oral tradition, y'all. And I got a video. But the Danyayas, the Abarbanels, also never cease to trace their origin to King David. Y'all watch this. Those related to the David family, we find after the expulsion of the Jews from Spain, we find them in Morocco. Y'all, and I got a video. I was gonna post it. I've been recorded it. I just didn't know if I was just too in my emotions to really post that lesson where I go into detail on this stuff, y'all. Going into detail on Joseph being scattered to the four corners of the earth like a coat of many colors. I'm gonna drop that lesson on the Shabbat. As I'm filming this, this is like prep day. This is like Friday. during the day. So I'm gonna do a quick lesson now, talk a little bit about this stuff, do a quick lesson on just us being the people, the scriptures being for Israel, because I've been networking with a lot of different pastors, talking to a lot of pastors, and there's been a lot going on, y'all. Just a lot with the IUIC. They're doing their Church Blitz campaign. A lot of pastors I've talked to, and and I'm trying to convince them of why the awakening is biblical. It's just so much that's been going on. And then my babies, they 3 under 3, so you know we've been trying to sleep train our youngest daughter, me and Shiny D. So y'all, we're gonna talk about all that. So y'all like this video, y'all comment, share, subscribe. We're gonna talk about why the awakening is so important, why this is biblical. This is not a flesh campaign. This is not something that we came up with. This is the timing of the Most High. So y'all smash that like button, and I'm just gonna talk to y'all a little bit. So y'all, I know it's been a minute. I know it's been, one of my brothers commented and said, bro, it's been 10 days, where are you? And it's just been a lot, y'all. Like, as y'all know, there was a big kind of smoke thing going on with Ephraim and the Yoruba's oral tradition and a lot of that. And I was like, how should I tackle this? Should I get some boys involved? Should I try to reach out to Dr. Benai Ephraim, Will Son of Yah, Nazarene Hebrew Assembly, just see if I can kind of, some brothers that have done in-depth scholarship into the oral tradition of the tribes that we come from, y'all.
As it concerns also servant master relationship, it is written in the Torah that if a man acquires a slave, though in this case not a slave, is a servant in our own case. If he acquires a slave, that slave is going to serve for 6 years, and on the 7th year be free. That's exactly what we do here, and we're taking it today. 6 years service, the 7th year free.
You know, in a way, you're doing things in the ancient customs of our people.
Because we're ancient people.
Yeah.
We're ancient people.
Yes.
That we're more ancient than even the 1948 establishment of the state of Israel. In fact, to show you that we're more ancient than even the 1948 establishment of the state of Israel.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that.
And besides, an Igbo man who kills somebody by accident.
Yes.
If a man in Nigeria like killed by accident, he runs from this particular community to another town, and we never come back to this town until after 7 years, because we have no standing high priest. Just like he said, the city of refuge in Israel.
Yeah, I understood.
So we do that. I have told you that a man who hanged himself, who died by hanging, is never buried. Like in my own area where I came from, in Ngwaland, also in Abia State. We don't bury them. We go to invite people from Afo. They go to the bush where he hanged himself, dug a pit under that bush, under that tree, and somebody will climb and cut the rope. He will fall into the pit, and they will close the pit and return.
You know what you are? You are an ancient Israelite. You know what you are? You are an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israelite, that's what you are. Hallelujah. So if you give me time, if you give me time, but already no, we don't have so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes, and I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews?
Y'all, we are Israelites. Let me repeat. So-called blacks, so-called African diaspora, the people that were scattered during the transatlantic, we descend from West African tribes, from sub-Saharan tribes, from Bantu-speaking tribes, that their oral tradition is well documented as coming from the Middle East, and this is corroborated by the Jews themselves, by many white historians, anthropologists, archaeology. It's just so many receipts, y'all. So I'm just gonna kind of let y'all know the fallout that happened and what I was trying to propose, and that whole beef and that whole Ephraimite deception thing. I'm gonna talk a little bit about that, y'all, and show y'all how the white man is playing us. The European nations, the Gentile countries are playing our people because they're chasing us out to sea, to chase after an identity that is not based in the scriptures or the oral tradition of the tribes we come from. All I'm here to do is get y'all to think for yourselves. Y'all research this stuff for yourself, fact check it for yourself. So we're gonna jump right into it. First, I'm gonna do a brief recap on what I was saying based on the oral tradition in terms of where black people come from. Who are we? So, based on the prophecies of the scripture, Deuteronomy 28, Joel chapter 3, a lot of different precepts, right? Our people were fulfilling the covenantal butt whooping that the Most High put on Israel because of their disobedience, right? Our forefathers made a covenant with the Most High Yah on Mount Sinai. Moses was that mediator, right, of that covenant, that if we would guard our heritage, guard our history, and this is what I tell y'all, if you don't guard this stuff, somebody's gonna take it from you. That's why history is so important. I argue with pastors and leaders all the time to let them know that this stuff matters. If we don't work to protect this history, re-earth this history, it's gonna be taken from us. And I think our people take this stuff lightly. Oh, that doesn't matter, JB. Y'all preaching hate speech. How is me telling you that I love my community? How is that hate speech? I do not condone any violence or any acts of violence or racism or terrorism on any group of people. This is how white people psych our people out. They say, well, that's hate speech. You're talking about an ethnicity, neither Jew nor Gentile. Now that whole neither Jew nor Gentile thing, and I'm gonna do another video, y'all. I gotta get caught up. I'm start pinning these lessons out, getting back more consistent the way I was. But that whole Jew and Gentile thing is a misconception. They know historically that that Bible was one family working to come back together. Jude has nothing to do with every Israelite is a Jew. There were Israelites that practiced Torah, that were Jews, that kept the Talmud and a lot of other stuff the Jews were doing. And then there were other Israelites that did not keep the Torah or the commandments, and they were deemed Hellenized, Hellenist, and even called Gentiles. That's the misconception, family. That Bible is the history book and heritage, the culture of one people, the children of Israel. And it is about that family that was broken into two kingdoms coming back together as one family. Now, let's get into how our people fit in with this event taking place, with Israel being restored. It has been my argument that based on the oral tradition of the African tribes that we come from, we are linked to Ephraim. I repeat, so-called African Americans, so-called Caribbean blacks, so-called Haitian blacks, so-called Brazilian blacks. If you descend from the transatlantic slave trade event, this was fulfilling prophecy because we broke the covenant with our Creator and He scattered us to the four corners of the earth. Now, a lot of people was like, no, we Judah. We ain't, who you say we is? We are Israel. We are Israelites. Now, a lot of people don't know basic terminology. There was the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah, right? These two kingdoms, it used to be one kingdom of Israel where all 12 tribes were united, but because King Solomon had a lot of arranged marriages and affiliations with a lot of foreign kingdoms, he married women of foreign kingdoms to enact peace with other countries. Somebody had to pay for that. So he increased the taxes on the children of Israel. Y'all got to read this history in the scriptures. And the Most High said that, okay, I was going to allow one united monarchy to exist under you, Solomon, but because of what you've done in terms of whoring around with all these strange women and their gods and trying to be buddy-buddy with all these other nations at the expense of your people, increasing a burdensome tax on your people, because you chose to do that, not in your generation for David's sake, but your son is going to split the kingdom. He had a son named Rehoboam. And it was some elders that told Rehoboam, you got to make it up to the children of Israel because your father was buddy-buddy to all these other nations, and our people had to suffer. His people had to suffer. Do away with all these taxes that you putting on the children of Israel. Rehoboam said, my pinky finger is stronger than my daddy's loins. He was a cocky little sumser because he was listening to his little knucklehead young brethren. And they said, no, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. He increases the taxes. The kingdom splits. The 10 tribes that keep the name of Israel led by the royal house of Joseph or Ephraim, they split. Those 10 tribes create the northern kingdom of Israel. And Judah, because of David, stays around, supports Solomon, supports that family of David. So they stay along with Benjamin. Later, the northern kingdom, they reject all the priests, the Levites, and say that they're not, because they were afraid to go back to Jerusalem to worship on the feast days like they were supposed to, because Jeroboam thought that they were going to try to kill him because he ran away. Even though the Most High said, I'm going to make you king over the northern kingdom, King Jeroboam, an Ephraimite, fled, right? In the northern kingdom, they went deeper into Africa. They did their own thing, right? So when that took place, they stopped going to Jerusalem for the feast days and that kind of thing. And all the Levites ended up joining with Judah as well. So you have 9 tribes. Some people say 9.5. Some people still say 10 because you had Levites that were mixed throughout. So you can say 10 tribes and the 2 tribes of Judah and Benjamin, but Levi joined them. So this is where you get Judah, Benjamin, and Levi comprising the southern kingdom, and the other 10 lost tribes comprising the northern kingdom of Joseph. You'll see it called Ephraim. You'll see it called Samaria, but more specifically Israel, the northern kingdom. So why did I go through all of that? Our people, black people that went into the transatlantic, are the descendants of Joseph. We are the descendants of the northern kingdom. How do I know this? A lot of y'all been getting on the comments saying stuff and y'all have not read the prophecies. Now I'm gonna do a follow-up video that's gonna go way more in detail in Jeremiah 31, but I'm gonna mention it. In Jeremiah 31, the Bible tells you that the Most High would regather the remnants of Israel, the remnants of Ephraim, from the 4 corners of the earth, and even names the north country in Jeremiah 31. What? It says that, JB? That he will regather Israel from the north country? It is in Jeremiah chapter 31. I'm gonna put that on the screen for y'all. Now let's go into the oral tradition of the people, and let's go into the science a little bit. I don't want to lose y'all. But we as so-called blacks are descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. Whenever you hear people saying, oh, the lost tribes of Israel, we don't know where those Israelites went. Black people are the descendants of those lost tribes. History suggests that they went and set up a kingdom within Africa, specifically in Morocco. The name Morocco is not an ancient term. You see Morocco referred to as the Kingdom of Morocco. I believe it's Al-Aqsa al-Maghrib, right? So that kingdom that was set up, the Moroccan Sephardic Jews have an oral tradition, and it's verified by the Wifran, the Jewish Virtual Library, the Tel Aviv Virtual Library. I've mentioned that about that ancient kingdom of the northern kingdom, Ephraimites, in Morocco, right? This coincides with the Yoruba and the Igbo. Now that's, before I go too deep in them, let's just deal with what happened. The northern kingdom went into Africa. They set up an amazing kingdom there. They kept a lot of the pre-exilic tenets and actions, the commandments, the customs of Israel before they went into the Babylonian captivity and that kind of thing, because a lot of them were from the Assyrian captivity, where the Assyrians took over the northern kingdom, but a lot of them escaped. Now, it's a lot of different theories that the Moroccan Jews have. Some of these Moroccan Sephardic Israelites say that they had a kingdom in Africa going all the way back to during the time of Joseph. And I have a book that I'll mention later. I don't have it with me. I might put it up on the screen for you guys. Jewish Folk Tales from Morocco. Excellent read. Where they have a lot of these oral traditions where they say that Joseph set up a kingdom in Morocco as well as in Canaan before all 12 tribes got to the land of Canaan. This is where you get to Bethlehem was already settled by Ephraimites. Now, I don't want to get too deep off into that. That's a whole nother thing going into David's Ephrati lineage. But just know an Ephrati or Ephraimite kingdom was set up in Africa. This is by the 10 lost tribes that the researchers say we don't know where the 10 lost tribes are. They know exactly who the 10 lost tribes are. It's mighty strange, family, that the lost tribes are lost, and so-called black people, we don't know where y'all came from. Y'all ain't the Egyptians, y'all ain't Israel, we don't know. Y'all are just sub-Saharan. It's mighty strange. Y'all gotta watch. The devil is in the detail. They know that Israel's lost because we're lost, because we are the descendants of Israelites. We are not Jews, family, and the scholars know that fine detail. Now, when I say we're not Jews, I'm not just saying we're not the Ish people. They claim to be Judah. We don't even claim that. The Africans in the continent, the tribes that we come from, they do not claim to be Judah. Some of y'all say, well, there was a kingdom of Judah on the old slave maps. Absolutely, family. This gets into the Ephrati family. Now, what made the southern kingdom so powerful was David. There's a difference between the Messiah coming from David and the Messiah coming from the loins of Judah. I know y'all don't like to hear that. The prophecy is that a descendant of David, and I've showed y'all in 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 12 that David was the son of Jesse, the Ephraimite of Bethlehem in Judah. Now you see how meticulous that is? If you don't pay attention to the detail, which our people are not doing, you could just say, yeah, he came out of Judah. That's true. It says that Jesse was an Ephraimite that lived in Bethlehem in Judah, y'all. And I showed y'all in Joshua chapter 15, it lists every city that was given to Judah. Our people are thinking like colonists. If the Bible doesn't tell you that Judah was given that city, you're thinking like the white man by going in and saying that this belongs to Judah. Woo! We've been in captivity for so long, family, that we think like our oppressors. Bethlehem was a sacred town. Rachel died there in Genesis 35 verse 19. That's a big deal. Rachel was the wife that Jacob loved. Rachel also is the mother of Joseph, the grandmother of Ephraim. This is why those Ephraimites settled in Bethlehem, because that's where their mother's bones were buried. This is why in Joshua 15, you don't see that city listed. This is why in the book of Ruth, you had to have a kinsman redeemer, because that clan of Ephraimites lived within a greater territory of Judah, and they would have lost their ethnic distinction because of the surrounding Judites but around them, right? So they wanted to redeem Elimelech's lineage, who was married to Naomi. This is why her daughter-in-law Ruth married Boaz, who was a near of kin to Elimelech. Y'all got to pay attention to the scriptures. Now, a lot of y'all go to, well, in the last verse, it says Boaz goes back to Pharez. Now, y'all, I'm going to do a more detailed teaching on the lineage of Pharez. We know that had to be, and I know this is going to offend y'all. Let me pause a minute. This is going to offend y'all, but I got to say it. That Pharez lineage was a later insert. How do you know? Oh, JB, no, you losing us now. How do I know that? The text tells you. Shout out to Kingdom Preppers. A lot of y'all have seen their channel. 90% of Israelites have seen their channel. They have a brilliant video on true Israel being scattered and that kind of thing. Just type in Kingdom Preppers on YouTube and you will find them. I looked into their website. They also know this to be true. Why is Ephraim, why have the Judean scribes tried to erase Ephraim out the scriptures? Because African Americans descend from Ephraim, the northern kingdom. The mystery is David's father Jesse was a part of that clan that moved to Bethlehem during the time of, even before all 12 tribes got into the land of Canaan. You had a clan of Ephraimites that already settled in Bethlehem because their grandmother was buried there. Now let's go back to the story of Ruth. Now, when we look at Boaz, that last lineage that's listed at the end of the chapter, it says that he goes back to Pharez. Now, there's one or two theses. I'm gonna give y'all both theses and let you choose for yourself. Either they're giving you Boaz's lineage, check this out, to show you that it didn't matter because the moral of the story was he was raising up his brother's lineage, Elimelech, who the Bible tells you was an Ephraimite in Ruth chapter 1 verse 2. Either they're just giving you that lineage to see if you're going to pay attention that wasn't even the moral of the story. What am I saying? The whole story and the whole law of the Levirate marriage was when your brother died, if you married his wife that was still living, the kids that you had would take on the name and the tribe of the deceased. So the Bible tells us in Ruth chapter 1 verse 2, Elimelech was an Ephraimite. But then at the end of the chapter, it says Boaz was from Pharez, from Judah. So either they just gave you that to show you that this Judahite raised up Ephraim, or this was an insert. There's only one or two options. How do I know that? A brother said, well, that's Elimelech's lineage. that Boaz was raising up. The Bible already told you in Ruth chapter 1 verse 2 that he was an Ephraimite. So his lineage can't go back to Pharez unless somebody's trying to manipulate the text. And that's why I told y'all there were Judaite scribes during the time of Josiah when the Jews went back to the land that rewrote the lineages. Now y'all got to know your history during the time of the restoration. This started during the Medo-Persian era, really, when Cyrus allowed those Jews to go back to the land of Jerusalem and rebuild. These were Jews. You already know that Assyria had already conquered the northern kingdom. So the Jews are now rewriting, restoring Jerusalem, rebuilding the temple, rewriting the lineages. So you see in this instance of Ruth that it appears to be a contradiction because the Bible says Ephraim, but now it seems like it's a slight towards Judah, which contradicts the text. Now, it doesn't have to contradict the text because we can clearly say, okay, Boaz could have been Judah that was raising up Elimelech the Ephraimite. So it doesn't have to contradict the text if the moral of the story was redemption, was restoration, was Naomi having to flee from Bethlehem to go to Moab during the time of the famine that hit Bethlehem. So she's already in a dead situation. Then her husband dies. Then her 2 sons dies. So she can't even go back to her home village because the Levirate customs that are still practiced by the Africans, specifically the Nigerians, said that she didn't have any rights because she didn't have a male that gave her right to a land, a living space, and her 2 sons were dead. So now any other of the kinsmen, brethren could take that land. They still practice this in Nigeria today, which can be very devastating. You have this sad situation. Then Ruth, her daughter-in-law, finds favor with Boaz, who happens to be related to Elimelech. This is how we know Boaz had to be an Ephraimite based on him being a near of kin. Why do we know that? How do we know that? Because if he was a Judaite, he would not have had right to the land of an Ephraimite. He had to be a near of kin that's compatible with the tribes, y'all gotta hear me, to justify him taking his brother's land, his brother's wife, to raise up his brother's name. Because they were very serious about that, family. If you were from a different tribe, you could not take territory that belonged to another tribe. Hence the whole kinsman redeemer story. That's why I know a lot of y'all ain't reading. A lot of y'all getting on here commenting, oh no, David was no Ephraimite, because you don't know yourself. Yes, you got it right. You are related to David, but it's not what you think. You have Ephraimite blood, you have Yoruba blood, you have Igbo blood, Nigerian blood that goes back to Ephraim, the northern kingdom. How do I know that? So, first, the Judean scribes had to steal our identity. They had to say that the Israelites were done away with. They're lost tribes. We don't know where they are because they know it's so-called black people that went into Africa. Next, they had to alter the lineages. So now you don't see the promises that Moses and Jacob had for Joseph. Now that's done away with. Understand, the Judean scribes know that the first 5 books of Moses predate the exilic Judean scribes. They honored that. That was set in stone. Nobody was going to change that. But when you look at the blessing that Jacob gave Joseph, it supersedes that which he gave to Judah. Also, the blessing that Moses gave to Joseph in Deuteronomy 33 piggybacks that exact same blessing and puts a messianic blessing on Joseph. That goes back to when Jacob said, from him, or from Joseph, comes the shepherd rock. The rock that his brothers hated, that the archers hated. That rock that goes into the prophecy of the stone that the builders rejected, we know that as a messianic prophecy. But that goes back to the blessing that was given to Joseph. How do we reconcile these things? David. So then you look in Numbers 23 and 24, and it says, a star shall come forth out of Jacob. Now we know that a lot of scholars agree that that's talking about David, which is also talking about the Messiah's lineage coming from David. Now, in Numbers 23 and 24, it says that his king will be higher than Agag. Agag is the king of Amalek or Esau. Joshua, going into Exodus chapter 17, led the war against Amalek, and all the scholars know that whenever you see Esau being brought down, that is by a descendant of Joseph. Y'all look into Messiah ben Joseph on YouTube, and they all know this. That it is believed that only a descendant of Joseph can bring down Amalek or Esau. How is this confirmed? During the kingship of King David, King David was the only king that subdued all those Edomites and put them in chains, because Saul was commanded by Samuel to kill Agag, but he wouldn't do it. Saul is also a descendant of Rachel through Benjamin. So we see that Rachel gives birth to these kings. Y'all watch this. But specifically not through Benjamin, but through Ephraim. David, the Ephraimite that lived in Bethlehem within Judah, was the king that was able to subdue and conquer all the Edomites, the surrounding Amalekites, and put them in chains. David did that thing, y'all. Why is this important? The Judean scribes had to erase Ephraim out of the scriptures, the same spirit that Judah and the other brothers did to Joseph in the first book of the Bible. I'm gonna do some follow-ups. So they had to get rid of us and replace us with the Jews. Now, if I go into the history of the Jews using Josephus, it's gonna blow y'all mind. A lot of those Jews were Edomites. Now, y'all, it's gonna get real tough through here. When you look at Caleb, a lot of y'all reached out and said, well, JB Ephratah, even though it was given to Rachel, Ephratah was named after Caleb's wife, Ephrath. Now, let me deal with that, y'all. It's so much I got to deal with, because y'all have brought some good questions. I love the questions, but it's a lot that I have to go into, and I need y'all to be patient. Please, because a lot of y'all have jumped to the comments, and I was like, don't go to the comments yet. Let's deal with it. Now, when you look at Ephratah, we know that Bethlehem was not named after Caleb's wife, Ephratah. How do we know that? We know that because Rachel had already died in that region 400 years before Caleb was born. And Moses had already named that land in Rachel's memory in Genesis 35. So we know just by proximity, the time frame doesn't add up. That Rachel dies here is called Ephratah, and her grandson Ephraim's name is the same as Ephrathite. Ephraimite, Ephrathite are both H673. Then you're saying it's named after somebody that came 400 years later after Rachel was buried there? No, it makes more sense that Caleb married a wife from that region. How do we know that? Caleb was a Kenizzite. Kenizzites were not Judah. Now y'all gotta watch this now. Caleb's Kenizzite lineage was grafted into the tribe of Judah. I repeat, Caleb was a Kenizzite. He was a part of those indigenous Edomite, Kenizzite, Hivite, Hittite, all those Canaanites that were in the land before Israel. Caleb was a part of that and was grafted into Judah because he sided with Israel and spying out the promised land to help them conquer it. He was with Joshua, the son of Nun, an Ephraimite, that went into there to spy out the land of Canaan. So Caleb was grafted into Judah. This had been going on a lot, y'all. Judah's tribe, that region, had close proximity with Kenizzites, with Edomites, and a lot of different influences. Who corroborates what I'm saying? A lot of y'all like, no, JB, prove it. Okay, let's look at Josephus. Josephus, in his writings, Book of Antiquities and the Book of the Wars, goes into the major factions that existed in Judea during the time of Rome. He said you had the Pharisees, you had the Sadducees, and you had the Essenes, which were Jews by birth. Now, why does Josephus say that? Why does he say that the Essenes are Jews by birth? This is where you get John the Baptist. Christ was a part of that Essene group, those militant Nazarenes that wanted to overthrow the Edomite Romans and restore autonomy to the children of Israel. I know this is a lot of history. Y'all replay these lessons and y'all take notes. I've been trying to put this stuff together to deal with y'all's concerns because there's been a lot of confusion. Now, so the Pharisees and the Sadducees were not Jews by birth. A lot of them were Edomite puppet figures, and they were Edomites by blood that held political power going back to the time of John Hyrcanus and his brother Aristobulus. They were fighting. Rome comes in under Pompey and says, we'll put our own people in your land, in your positions of power. Your priest and all that. Even the king of Judea was an Edomite, Herod, as well. So you had a lot of Edomites that had power during the time of Judea because Edom had a close affinity with Judah, going back hundreds, thousands of years, mixing in the region. It mixed up the tribe of Judah a lot, y'all. So this is the thing y'all ain't gonna like to hear. When a lot of those Jewish people claim to be Judah, we know they're Edomites, but they can prove affinity to Judah because historically Edomites were in that region heavily. Even when they kicked out those Negro Israelites of antiquity during the fall of the temple in 70 AD, a lot of those Edomites stayed there. So if the Jewish people say, yeah, we got bones over here in Israel that prove that this is during the time of Christ, we were here. They can prove that. But what they can't prove is even if the Most High allowed you to do that, he had a tribe tucked away inside of the fabric of another tribe. Y'all got to see oh man, if y'all could just have faith to hear what I'm saying. The Most High hid Ephraim within Bethlehem, within Judah, and they would eventually be scattered like a coat of many colors, thought to be dead, but going into all nations to become a multitude of nations, which is prophesied by Jacob to Ephraim, that Ephraim will become the Goyim, multitude of nations. This is where you get the Gentile gospel. Is not for foreign nations, but for Israelites scattered, specifically northern kingdom Hellenized, specifically Ephraim, the son of Joseph. I'm telling y'all, this stuff is deep. Just like it was Joseph's coat of many colors, Ephraim will be scattered to the four corners of the earth. This is in Jeremiah chapter 31, where it says that I will regather Ephraim from the north country. I repeat, it says I will regather him from the north country, from the islands of the sea. Whoa, that sounds like the transatlantic descendants. That's why they had to convince you that the Messiah's lineage is from the tribe of Judah. David's lineage came out of Judah, yes, but the devil is in the detail. David was an Ephraimite of a different tribe that lived within the area of Judea where the tribe of Judah was given that land, all of those towns except for Bethlehem, because Rachel died there. Family, us so-called African Americans, we are actually descendants of the northern lost kingdom of Israel, the lost tribes of Israel, led by Joseph to fulfill prophecy. David's seed, now let's go into David's lineage. David, a lot of those David family descendants would migrate to the Maghrebian region of Africa and also be in Sephardim or in Spain, specifically Granada, deemed Jews' town, where a lot of these David seed would live. When they were banished in 1492 out of Spain by King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, they went deeper into Africa and settled deeper, starting in Morocco and going down into Nigeria. So the Ephraimites of David's lineage would join together with the Ephraimites of Yoruba, the northern kingdom, and create one new stick, but they're compatible. When you Google the grafting process, a lot of people don't understand the mystery of Romans chapter 11. I can't take two foreign branches and graft them together. They have to be compatible. This is how the Most High in his wisdom took the Ephraimite family of David of Judah and took the Ephraimite family of the northern kingdom Jeroboam and combined their lineages together under Joseph, double fruit, which these Israelites are the ones that were taken in the transatlantic, sold in the pit just like Joseph was, into Egypt, again with slave ships, Deuteronomy 28:68. Y'all, so just as Joseph was sold into Egypt as a slave, his descendants fulfilled the curse of Deuteronomy 28:68 that was talking about Israelites, specifically the kingdom of Israel, that were taken into slavery into the spiritual Sodom and Egypt of the United States of Babylon and the islands of the sea, the Caribbean, St. Vincent, Haiti, all of these different islands where the transatlantic stopped to carry these Negro Israelites into slavery. So y'all, I just had to drop that for y'all. Your boy is still here. I'm trying to work on breaking these different nuggets down to do individual teachings to show you all that the children of Israel, the children of that northern kingdom, are in fact, we be those people, so-called African Americans, those that descend from the transatlantic. We are actually descendants of Israelites, the ancient Israelites, the northern kingdom that preserved the name of Israel. Judah was a separate kingdom that got overrun with Edomites, but the Most High had a royal family within them that was also Ephraim, double fruit that was prophesied by Jacob, that would combine those lineages, preserve that family of those Negro Israelites, and they will be scattered to the four corners of the earth. So family, I hope y'all got something out of that. The whole Jew and Gentile thing, I touched a little bit. Those Gentiles were Hellenized Israelites. This is the heart that Paul had to go search for these scattered northern kingdom Ephraimites or Gentiles. That was Paul's mission. That was also Yeshua's mission, was to find that prodigal son. They were both sons, but he was going after the lost prodigal son that his father killed the fatted calf for, which goes into the image of Ephraim itself, which is the bull. So y'all, it's a lot. Christ was going after those scattered Ephraimites, those scattered Israelites, because y'all got to understand, they had already been taken into slavery going back to the Assyrian captivity. They were already lost, right? We know historically they went into Africa, Morocco, and they set up a glorious kingdom, right? And we also know that some of David's Ephraimite family went into Africa, went and reunited with those Ephraimites in Morocco, as well as in the lower part of Iberia, Spain, right? And this is where you get the Moors from. A lot of those Moors, these were Ephraimites by ethnicity. Some of them practiced Islam and some of them practiced Torah. But a lot of them that practiced Islam did that because they knew that the European Edomites had hijacked the culture. So they created a cold religion of Islam, submission to Yah, to be able to conceal themselves. And those Moorish Ephraimites, when they were banished out of Spain, they went into Morocco. Morocco on the map is directly above Yoruba land, Nigeria, and they just went straight down. And this is the Benai Ephraim's oral tradition and the oral tradition of the Igbo that say they come from Gad's 8th son Eri. Y'all, it's too much history. The Biafras, the two Afras, two Ephraim, they know that they are Joseph. The Igbo applied for Israelite citizenship under the tribe of Joseph. It was denied, but they know who they are. The Jewish Encyclopedia of the Diaspora, written by Ashkenazi Jews, admits that they are Northern Kingdom, admits that the Yoruba are Ephraimites. They know it. So the Yoruba know, the Igbo know, they have Biafras, the Moroccans, those ancient Moroccans, they know, they all know, family, that they're Northern Kingdom. We are thinking like colonists, trying to make them Jews, which is the very agenda of those white folks trying to proselytize Africa. Y'all got to hear me. So y'all, it's a method to the madness of what I'm trying to do. The mission of Zion Dynasty is to reunite the diaspora of Ephraim, the Northern Kingdom, and to restore autonomy to Israel, apart from Edom, the Ish people, and all of them. We want y'all to acknowledge, yeah, we are the people, but we don't have to be y'all. We're Northern Kingdom. Since y'all got to catch the madness, because if we can unite Africa under Moorish Ephraim, the United States government has to acknowledge that, because the treaty that they have with the Moroccans goes back to 1786, which is the longest treaty in American history, a treaty of peace. Now, within the fabric of that treaty, if our people call themselves Moors, we get certain protection, certain rights, and it ensures our repatriation as well as reparations if we declare ourselves Moorish Ephraimites. The power is in us being Israel, y'all. It unites Africa, unites the diaspora, unites the Moroccan history, which is the oral tradition of the Yoruba, makes Babylon have to acknowledge us, America. It creates the Jewish state that has to acknowledge us as equal but separate from us, because we're not claiming to be Jews like y'all, so you can't proselytize us, but you have to acknowledge and respect us because we're your brother Joseph. Y'all, it's a method to why I'm teaching this. So y'all, I hope y'all got something out of it. I know that was a lot. I just wanted to kind of get a quick teaching out. I'm going to do a follow-up lesson on the Shabbat. Then I'm going to go into more detail into Jeremiah 31 to show y'all the prophecies of Joseph. And I'm going to get back on it, y'all, with these daily lessons. A lot of y'all have been emailing, reaching out. I love y'all. I'm going to have to push that giveaway because I didn't fell off, y'all, trying to figure out how to do this stuff, how to teach this history, how to restore love for Ephraim and Joseph to our people. Our people are not, we don't want to be Israel. We want to chase after the Jewish people, right? When history is on our side, Harvard's on our side, Cambridge, the White House memorandum, is too much, y'all. So y'all, I'm going to do some follow-ups. I'm going to try to do that giveaway on the next Shabbat. Not tomorrow, but the next Shabbat. Y'all keep commenting about that. Also, if y'all have some more topics y'all want me to go into, y'all comment about that as well. So I love y'all with the love of the Messiah. Peace, love, blessings, and Israelite power. I love you all. Be blessed. Shalom. All praises.